I want to start off here on some observations and opinions by saying, last year at this time, the LSU offense was just dominating defense, this defense in the run game. I think now what we know is that really, you just had 4 offensive linemen that did get drafted from a season ago, and your D-line just wasn't good. In the offseason, I would assume by their actions, Brian Kelly, Blake Baker, Austin Thomas, they also didn't believe that they were that good because they went and got a lot of defensive linemen to help out in this run game. Camp narratives can be scary because you get into the USC game and they completely out-physical you and you can't run the football. Hardly at all. Now, you don't have Caden Durham. Maybe that makes a massive difference, and I'm sure it does make a massive difference, but you still got out-physicaled up front. You 1,000% did. But even in that camp narrative, guys, we got to go based off of what we see, and it's your job, my job, everybody's job. In these practice reports, you come away with what you believe is happening. My opinion is that a couple of things can be true at once. The couple of things that could be true are you need to be cautious on, like, hey, man, is this defensive line as good as we think that they are? Because if they are, then maybe some of these things can be understandable about, man, you're really deep and talented along your defensive line that, man, you got 4 guys that are there and are new starters, and let's figure it out. Now, what I would say there is you really only have 2 true new starters along your offensive line. What do I mean by that? Other than Tyree Adams and Weston Davis, Braylon Moore started in 20-plus games. Josh Thompson started in more than 20-plus games. And DJ Chester started in 13 games a season ago. Between the 3 of them, you have 50-plus starts. The Big Ten is not a league that are pushovers along their defensive line. They've won the last 2 national titles because they've had 2 teams in Michigan and Ohio State that literally had 7 guys get drafted in the NFL based off the last 2 national title winners. You had 4 from Michigan. You had 3 from Ohio State. And for whatever it's worth, Josh Thompson was an all-Big Ten selection at right tackle. He's moved over to guard. That's 50-plus starts combined between the 3 of them. I think it's a little bit different in the portal age when I say, hey, man, we added a guy with 20-plus starts. I mean, should he be this far behind? If this were a sophomore, maybe even a junior, and it's his real first time starting, then I'd be like, okay, I mean, that makes sense. Maybe you can make an excuse for DJ Chester, who played at center and started at center all 13 games last year, and say, well, guard's just a new position. We got to figure that out. You can make that determination. But I don't know if your defensive line is better than some of the teams that you're going to face off against. What is Dylan Stewart, the edge rusher at South Carolina? What is Caleb Banks? Caleb Banks, pretty much all mock drafts, he's the number 1 defensive tackle in all of college football. Tariq Sapp, the edge for Florida. He's also projected to go in the first round. Some have him in the top 15. Oh, and then you get to Clemson with TJ Parker, and then Peter Woods and Sammy Brown and Will Helt, all guys that are projected to go in the top 50 in this upcoming NFL draft. Are you a part of that? Is your defensive line a part of that? Because if it is a part of that, you look at what other teams have in the preseason, you project of, because there might be some units that have just as much talent up front as you do and things that you've seen. So make your own determination along the offensive line. If you're going to ask me, I think they're getting beat. I think in some instances, they're just getting flat out beat. Again, I will say this. For me, I don't want to hear about gelling when you have 2 guys who have that many starts combined between the both of them that you have a guy in Bernard Gooden, per his listed height and weight, at 6'2", 260 in the interior as a defensive tackle, breaking a double team and tackling a guy in the backfield for a tackle for loss while he's getting the handoff. And not just in one day. In all days that they've had pads on, Bernard Gooden has done this. It's not like it's been one day. It's not like it's only been a day and maybe a rep. It's been multiple days where it's constantly happening, whether it be in the first 11-on-11 period where he got one, or the last team period where he got one. Make of it what you will. But gelling for me as a guy that played the position, okay, in my opinion, I think gelling comes more when you're talking about pass pro. Because there's not a lot of gelling about a defensive tackle busting off the line of scrimmage that quickly to get into the backfield. That is guys getting beat on their first step. That is a physical problem, not a mental one. So, through 6 days, this D-line, who, by the way, is coming together their own selves, Bernard Gooden wasn't even in here for – I don't think he was in here for the spring. I don't remember. No, he wasn't in here for the spring. He's coming here in the first 6 days and dominated. Got so much to the point that you got to ask the question, hey, you got to throw him out there. You be selective in how you do it, but you got to throw 88 out there. I mean, if he's going to do that against you, you got to give it a shot. Don McKinley's been a big part of that. I mean, Jack Pipern today was a big part of that. I mean, you just see this defensive line doing what they do. And guys, other than some big plays, there have been some situations where that this defense are making bigger ones. And this D-line is making bigger ones. It's not like Wick Weeks is making a tackle at the line of scrimmage, whatever it may be. These are coming from your defensive linemen, getting and pursuing and getting tackles for loss. I don't know if Bernard Gooden, and we're going to talk about this in a moment, I don't know if Bernard Gooden is going to be a part of that in the season. He very well may do that all season long, and he becomes a Louisiana legend overnight. Very likely could happen. I don't know. I don't know what's in our future. I hope he's doing that to other offensive lines throughout the year. I hope it's not just ours, and I hope it continues. But the gun shyness of last year and you dominating all fall camp, the run game dominating all fall camp, and then you being in a situation where, oh, well, Blake, this defensive line's dominating. It's the exact opposite of last year. We get into the season, and it completely turns on its head. The bottom line is, if you're asking a winner, there isn't an opinion. So even in observations and opinions, through a week, your D-line's won. And they've done some impressive things. I have seen the offensive line get better every single day. They've done some things where they've gotten better every single day. In the team period today, you had too many explosive plays, the Garrett run, the run, and not even explosive play, but maybe for this offensive line, it is to some extent in the run game. You getting a run for 5 yards, Caden Durham bursting one out and going for a score. Guys, they're live tackling. They're running them down. Like this is full blown. This isn't like let up when he gets to the hole. They're going to the ground. Caden Durham makes a good read, gets a stiff arm, and he's off to the races. Sounds good. They housed one. I don't think in the run game it was as bad as maybe some made it to believe. I also think that when you're getting into a situation where consistency, as Brian Kelly said in the press conference today, is not what this offensive line has had. One step forward, massive step back. One step forward, one massive step back. One step forward, one massive step back. That's literally how today's practice and other practices have been coming out and happening. Can they continue to build? Now, they got a full 2-hour practice tomorrow that we're not allowed to go to. They have a recovery day on Thursday, and they're back at it on Friday and Saturday. Can this offensive line get more and be more consistent. I think it's why Brian Kelly in his press conference today talked about, you guys in the media are going to be mad about what you saw today. He was making a lighthearted joke, but he kind of ain't. He's kind of not. It's a battle. I do not know who's winning it ultimately throughout the season. I do know who's winning it right now. Who's winning it right now is by far this defensive line. All right. A couple other opinions and observations here. Last thing on the offensive line, I missed this. I'm going to keep saying it. I want Karius Kern at guard. Screw it. Stop. If you made a wrong move with Thompson, moving Chester to left guard, whatever the wrong move is to help you get push, make the move. Make the move. Let's see what it looks like. Get Karius Kern at guard and see what happens. Even though we talked about the guard play and some of this offensive line play, guys, I think that we got to give it up to this defensive line. Pyburn was a guy that stood up big today. Patrick Payton was someone who stepped up big today. Bernard Gooden again. Jacoby and Guillory with a second unit got in the backfield and made a play. DJ Pickett cleaned it up. You just got to tip your cap. If this defensive line is who we think that they can be, then guys, you have a lot of optimism going into the season. Maybe you are that. I hope you're that. I hope that I hope that you were that. Now, there is 1,300 of you in here right now, and I want all of you to hear me say this. I hope that they're that. I don't know if they're going to be. I don't know what any of this means in the sense of, listen, you're going up against yourself. Fall camp narratives are fall camp narratives, but right now we can only go based off of what we're seeing. And what we're seeing is, and listen, there's twofold to this. For what it's worth, a lot of us came out here in 2023 and said this offense might be unstoppable. To some regards, they were, with Jaden Daniels, the Heisman Trophy winner, Malik Neighbors, and Brian Thomas Jr. You come back in the next camp and you're like, man, they run the football all over the place, and they can't run the football to save their life. One camp thing hits, the other one doesn't. But you got to give credit to them for what they're doing right now. So we'll see. A couple more here. I think Garrett is showing a lot of maturity. You expect this from a second-year starting quarterback. I just think that a lot of the things that we saw at the end of the year last year that was good has started to come to light. But just maturity. Stepping up in the pocket. Stepping up in the pocket, taking off and running when he needs to. Not a lot of turnovers right now that we've seen from number 13. And, guys, at this point last year, there were a lot of turnovers. A lot of turnovers. You just hadn't seen that much. I think the maturity, when it continues, he gets more of these live reps and he gets his timing down, will continue. But I think Garrett's looked really good. Hasn't had a lot of time. And I do worry that it throws off his timing, as Bryce Coon said. We'll see. There are some wide receivers that are starting to separate from me. If you had to ask me the four of where it stood today, it could change tomorrow. Aaron Anderson, Chris Hilton, Kyle Parker, Nick Anderson. Because those are the four that are making the most consistent plays. The reason I haven't thrown Xavier Thomas in there is because I don't think Xavier Thomas plays when Aaron Anderson returns, which per Brian Kelly could be as early as Friday. When he returns, I expect it to be those four. Kyle Parker has impressed Brian Kelly, and he's been out there. There have been some guys like Destin Hill and Barrion Brown that were screamed at by Brian Kelly today for not knowing the plays, and he took them out. If Barrion, who's a transfer, if Destin, who's a transfer, doesn't know what's going on, they better pick it up because these other guys are not letting up. Nick Anderson knew. Nick Anderson knows. No excuse. There's zero excuse for not knowing what to do. Zero. Both of them got the playbook in the spring. They should know exactly what they need to do. because Chris Hilton has separated himself for me as the number 2. How many times are we going to say Chris Hilton touchdown and Chris Hilton making a big play before we just say, all right, well, Chris Hilton's come to play. Again, understand health. You got 3 weeks. Put him in bubble wrap. Let him have some selective plays. Keep him healthy. So we'll see. I think the 2 other Porter receivers and Destin Hill the last couple of days and Barry and Brown, they've had some tough camps here to start. We'll see. Woodland and Jaden Breaker. There's 2 guys defensively that I think stand out a little bit to me outside of the starters. Jaden Breaker has kind of gotten in that 3rd overall unit along with Devon Keys. We'll see.